where we'll embark on an extraordinary journey into the heart of Zen Buddhism, a path that promises not just a deeper understanding of life, but a transformation in the way you experience reality. Imagine a life where the rush of time slows down, where the noise of the world fades into the background, and where every breath, every step, every small action becomes an opportunity for profound insight. In this video, we're going to explore exactly how Zen can help you unlock that kind of clarity, peace, and wisdom right here, right now. But let me ask you, have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing something just out of reach? Maybe it's happiness, fulfillment, or inner peace. You read countless books, listened to self-help podcasts, and still feel like you're not getting any closer. The truth is, you might be looking in all the wrong places. Zen teaches us that the key to understanding life and achieving true peace isn't in what you achieve or accumulate, but in how you are in the present moment. This way of living isn't something you read about, it's something you experience, something you practice. I'm going to share with you the essence of Zen, how it's not just a philosophy, but a practical approach to living with more presence, purpose, and peace. Whether you're at work, at home, or walking down the street, Zen has a way of transforming ordinary experiences into moments of profound awareness. But here's the thing, it's not something you can understand from a book alone. Zen demands that you experience it firsthand, that you step into the moment, free from distractions and expectations. Throughout this video, I'll dive deep into the core teachings of Zen, its history, its philosophy, and, most importantly, how you can bring it into your everyday life. So, if you're ready to slow down, to truly be present, and to discover the power of Zen, keep watching. Before we jump in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone you think could use a little more peace and clarity in their life. Trust me, what we're about to explore is going to change the way you see the world. So let's get started. Zen Buddhism is one of the most profound and simple spiritual paths, offering a unique perspective on life, existence, and enlightenment. Imagine a state of mind so still, it reflects the universe around it without distortion, a mind so clear that the clutter of thought and worry dissolves into the pure experience of the present moment. Zen is not about thinking or talking about the truth. It is about living the truth. The essence of Zen practice is about experiencing life directly, without the filters of conceptual thinking, without relying on external sources or intellectual explanations. It offers a path to enlightenment that is not based on accumulating knowledge, but on fully engaging in the immediate experience of being. At its heart, Zen Buddhism is a practice of simplicity. It challenges the need for complex rituals and doctrines, focusing instead on direct, personal experience. The practice is clear and focused. Sit in meditation, observe your thoughts, and let go of attachments to them. That's it. There's no complicated philosophy to learn, no grand narrative to memorize, only the immediate moment and the experience of presence. For many people, this might seem overly simple, even naive. How can enlightenment, a state of ultimate understanding, be so accessible? But this is the paradox at the core of Zen. The simplest path is the most profound. The more we strip away complexity, the closer we get to the truth of our own nature. Zen is deeply rooted in the philosophy of the present moment. In Zen practice, there is no past or future, only the present moment, the now. This is where life happens, and it is where we can access our deepest insights. There's a story in Zen that illustrates this beautifully. It's about a student who asked a Zen master, "What is the way to enlightenment?" The master simply replied, "When you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat." It's that simple. The way is not somewhere out there in some distant time or place. The way is right here, in each step, each breath, each moment. This is the heart of Zen practice. To do what you are doing with full awareness and presence, not thinking about what's next or regretting what happened before. When you think about it, the act of living is inherently Zen. We spend so much of our lives either lost in the past or anxiously anticipating the future. But the present moment is all we truly have. And yet, how many of us are truly present when we're walking, eating, or even talking to someone? Most of us are thinking about the meeting we have in the afternoon, or wondering what to have for dinner. This habit of constantly thinking about something other than the present moment is what keeps us from truly experiencing life. Zen teaches us to stop this cycle, to simply be in the moment, whatever we're doing. One of the core practices of Zen is Zazen, or seated meditation. In Zazen, the aim is not to achieve anything. There's no goal like finding enlightenment or calming the mind. In fact, Zen practitioners believe that trying to achieve something through meditation only gets in the way. The goal is to experience the present moment, without interference. It's not about focusing on something specific or trying to control your thoughts. It's about observing thoughts as they come and go, without getting attached to them. Picture your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. The sky doesn't try to control the clouds, it simply lets them pass. This is a huge shift from how most people approach meditation. In other forms of meditation, you might be encouraged to focus intently on a particular thought or mantra. But Zen says, let go of the effort to control. If a thought arises, just notice it and let it go. If a feeling of frustration arises because you can't seem to quiet your mind, notice that too and let it go. The moment you stop trying to control, you begin to experience life as it truly is, without the constant overlay of judgment or desire. It's important to understand that Zen is not about making the mind empty. It's about observing the mind, watching how thoughts rise and fall, and realizing that we are not our thoughts. Most people live with the misconception that they are their thoughts if they think a certain way. Then that must be who they are. But Zen teaches us that thoughts are just fleeting phenomena. Like waves in the ocean, they rise, they crash, and they disappear. The practice of Zazen, or seated meditation, is a way of becoming aware of this truth that we are not defined by our thoughts. Another key teaching of Zen is the idea of non-duality. In the West, we tend to think in dualistic terms: good versus bad, right versus wrong, self versus other. But Zen teaches that these divisions are ultimately illusory. The true nature of reality is non-dual, meaning that everything is interconnected and inseparable. The famous Zen saying before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, speaks to this idea of non-duality. Enlightenment doesn't radically change the world, it changes how we perceive the world. The simple, mundane tasks of life are no less sacred after enlightenment. They are simply seen in a new light. In the enlightened state, we see the world as it truly is an interconnected whole, and we are at peace with it. Zen practice isn't confined to meditation. It's a way of living, a way of being present in everything you do. Whether it's eating, walking, or working, every action can be an expression of Zen. The practice of mindfulness is central to this. For instance, when you eat with full awareness. Don't just stuff your face while thinking about something else. Focus on the taste, the texture, the act of chewing and swallowing. This mindfulness doesn't have to be limited to formal meditation. Every moment of life offers an opportunity to practice Zen, to bring your full attention to what you are doing, no matter how mundane it might seem. Zen also teaches the importance of simplicity. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with distractions. We are encouraged to buy more, do more, be more. But Zen invites us to slow down and simplify. The goal is not to add more to our lives, but to strip away the unnecessary. In Zen, the simplest actions, when done with full presence, become profound. Think about something as simple as washing dishes. Most people rush through it, wanting to be done with the task. But in Zen, washing dishes is an opportunity to be fully present. Feel the water. Hear the sound of the dish being scrubbed. Notice the soap bubbles. In Zen, even the most ordinary act can become a form of meditation. One of the most powerful elements of Zen is its emphasis on direct experience. Zen masters often say, "Don't seek the truth outside yourself." In other words, the truth isn't found in books, lectures, or sermons. It's found within you, in your own direct experience. If you want to know what Zen is, you can't just read about it or talk about it, you have to practice it. Zen is not an intellectual pursuit. It's a direct, lived experience that reveals itself through practice. This is what makes Zen different from other traditions. It isn't something you study or understand. It's something you experience directly in your life. For example, there's a famous Zen story about a student who asked his master, "What is the essence of Zen?" The master simply pointed to a flower. The student, confused, asked again, "What do you mean?" The master replied, "You don't need to ask. Just look at the flower, and you will know." This illustrates the idea that Zen is not about intellectual understanding. It's about seeing things as they are, in their most direct, unfiltered form. Zen also teaches us the importance of not clinging to anything, whether it's an idea, an identity, or an object. In the Zen tradition, the idea of attachment is a major obstacle to spiritual progress. Attachment doesn't just mean being emotionally attached to things. It also means being attached to our ideas about how things should be, or even our ideas about ourselves. Zen teaches that true freedom comes from letting go of all attachments, including attachment to the self. As Zen Master Dogen wrote, "To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self." This may sound paradoxical, but it's the key to Zen. When we stop clinging to our sense of self, we open up to a greater awareness, a deeper understanding of reality. This is what Zen calls awakening, the realization that our true nature is not separate from the world around us, but is one with it. At the core of Zen practice is the idea of liberation. Zen invites us to let go of the burdens of the past and future, to let go of attachment, to let go of the need for control, and simply be. When we do this, we discover a freedom that comes from within. The famous Zen saying, "When you can't do anything about something, just let it go," captures this beautifully. Life is unpredictable, and trying to control it only leads to frustration. The true path to freedom is to stop resisting what is, and instead embrace the present moment with open arms. Zen, in its simplest form, is about fully living in the moment, without distraction or attachment. It's about realizing that the path to enlightenment isn't some distant goal, but right here, right now, in the fullness of our experience. It's about letting go of everything that stands in the way of seeing life as it truly is. And when we do this, we experience the peace, the clarity, and the liberation that Zen promises. Zen Buddhism, at its core, is a spiritual journey that transcends the ordinary. A journey that began with Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, in India, but Zen, as we know it today, truly emerged in China around the 6th century, when the Indian monk Bodhidharma introduced a revolutionary shift in how meditation was understood. Zen's origins and development were influenced by a number of historical, cultural, and philosophical changes, with its core principles rooted in direct, personal experience rather than intellectual study. Over time, Zen found its way to Japan, where Dogen Zenji, one of its most influential figures, refined and deepened its practices, bringing Zen to a new level of integration with everyday life. The teachings of these early Zen masters have shaped a path of awakening that is as relevant today as it was over 1,000 years ago. The story of Zen begins with the Buddha, who lived in India around the 5th century BCE. Siddhartha Gautama, through his profound experience of enlightenment, became the Buddha, and his teachings spread across Asia, laying the groundwork for many different schools of Buddhism. However, Zen is a distinct form of Buddhism that arose out of the intersection of Indian Buddhist teachings and Chinese Taoist philosophy. It was in China, particularly during the 6th century, that Zen began to take shape. The key figure in this transformation was Bodhidharma, an Indian monk who is often credited as the first patriarch of Zen. Bodhidharma's contribution to Zen was radical, unlike other forms of Buddhism, which emphasized the study of scriptures, rituals, and complex philosophies. Bodhidharma's message was refreshingly simple. Enlightenment cannot be found through external teachings or religious rites. It can only be realized through direct, personal experience, which for Bodhidharma was rooted in meditation. Bodhidharma brought a new focus to meditation as the central spiritual practice, one that bypassed intellectual understanding and instead allowed the practitioner to experience truth directly. His emphasis on silent, seated meditation, called dhyana in Sanskrit, was the foundation of what would later evolve into Zen meditation. or Zazen in Japanese. The essence of Bodhidharma's teaching is beautifully captured in the story of his arrival at the Shaolin Temple in China. Legend has it that Bodhidharma sat facing a wall in deep meditation for 9 years, embodying the very principle that Zen would come to represent. That truth can only be known directly, and it is found in silence and stillness, not in words or teachings. This commitment to meditation and introspection, in contrast to external rituals, was revolutionary and marked the beginning of Zen's distinct identity within the broader Buddhist tradition. The walls Bodhidharma faced in his solitary meditation were symbolic of the mind's distractions, which Zen teachings would later encourage practitioners to transcend. The teachings of Bodhidharma continued to evolve and spread throughout China, eventually making their way to Japan. It was there that Zen took on its most influential form, largely due to the work of Dogen Zenji, who consolidated Zen's practices and philosophy in Japan in the 13th century. Dogen, born in 1200 into a noble family, was an intellectual who, after the loss of his parents, embarked on a spiritual journey to understand the nature of life, suffering, and enlightenment. Dogen's personal quest took him to China, where he studied with various masters of the Chan, Zen, tradition. Through this journey, Dogen realized that enlightenment was not a distant goal to be attained in some far-off future. Instead, it was present in every moment, every action, and could be realized right now. Through the act of Zazen, seated meditation, Dogen's teaching was clear. Enlightenment is not something that happens to you after years of practice, nor is it a special state to be attained. Enlightenment is not separate from life, but is expressed through life itself. For Dogen, every action, no matter how mundane, could become an expression of awakening, whether it was sitting in meditation, walking, eating, or even washing dishes. Every act could be an opportunity to experience the present moment fully and to realize the profound interconnectedness of all things. In his famous words, "To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self." This teaching encapsulates the essence of Zen, the idea that the more we focus on the present moment and let go of the self-centered narrative, the more we are able to realize the true nature of existence. Zen, in its truest form, is a practice of integration. It is not about escaping from the world, but about fully engaging with it. It is not about seeking out special, transcendent moments of enlightenment, but about finding those moments in the simplicity of daily life. Dogen's influence in Japan ensured that Zen would not remain confined to the monastic life or abstract philosophy, but would permeate all aspects of society. It is in the act of simply being present, whether washing a bowl or sweeping the floor, that Zen practice finds its deepest expression. Looking back on my own life, I can see how Zen's emphasis on direct experience and presence has shaped the way I approach the world. At first, the idea that enlightenment could be realized through everyday acts seemed like an oversimplification. In our modern world, we often believe that spiritual growth requires extraordinary efforts, years of study, or profound experiences. But Zen's message is that enlightenment is not something separate from our ordinary lives. It is the realization that every moment, no matter how simple, is imbued with the potential for awakening. For example, when I wash my dishes now, I focus on the sensation of the water, the sound of the plates clinking together, and the act of scrubbing. I do not rush through the task to get it over with, but embrace it fully, as an expression of mindfulness. This simple shift in perspective has profoundly transformed how I live my daily life. The beauty of Zen lies in its radical simplicity. It teaches that we do not need to go somewhere special, read 100 books, or perform elaborate rituals to access the truth. The truth is available to us right here, in the present moment, if we are willing to look. Zen shows us that the path to enlightenment is not about accumulating knowledge or gaining something outside of ourselves, but about letting go of everything that stands between us and the truth of our own experience. Through the practice of meditation, Zen invites us to experience life as it truly is, without the constant mental chatter, judgments, and distractions that often cloud our perception. Bodhidharma's message, brought from India to China, and Dogen's teachings in Japan, Both serve as reminders that Zen is not about intellectual knowledge or external rituals. It is about direct experience and presence. Dogen's teachings on integrating Zen into every aspect of life, from the most mundane tasks to the deepest meditation, have had a lasting impact on how Zen is practiced today. It is through the simplicity of everyday acts, performed with mindfulness and presence, that we begin to understand the true nature of reality. In a world that often values complexity and achievement, Zen invites us to slow down, let go of distractions, and simply be present in the moment. This is a lesson that resonates deeply with me as I reflect on my own life. The simplicity of Zen practice reminds me that the pursuit of truth is not a race to be won, but a way of being. It teaches us to be present in each moment, not waiting for some future time when we will have arrived at enlightenment, but realizing that every small action, from sitting in meditation to washing dishes, can be a form of meditation. This realization has been transformative. It has helped me to find peace in the present moment, to embrace simplicity, and to understand that enlightenment is not some far-off goal, but something that can be realized right now, in the very act of living. The philosophy of Zen is a profound exploration of the nature of existence, time, and awareness. At its core, Zen teaches that the present moment is all we truly have. This simple yet revolutionary idea challenges the common way most people experience life, where we are often caught up in the past or future, never fully present. In Zen, the idea that the present is all we have is not just a platitude, but a deep, transformative understanding that has the power to radically shift how we approach life. One of the most influential figures in the Zen tradition, Dogen Zenji, elaborated on this philosophy of the present moment in his teachings. Dogen's most famous concept, here and now, encapsulates the essence of Zen practice. For Dogen, the idea that time passes us by is a misconception. In fact, time doesn't pass. Instead, it is we who pass through time. This subtle but crucial distinction helps us to understand that we are not victims of time, racing against the clock or struggling to catch up. Instead, time is a constant, and it is in this eternal now that everything happens. The present moment is not a fleeting instant that we need to hurry through, but a vast, eternal space in which we experience life fully and completely. This is a powerful way to understand Zen, and it is something that speaks to the heart of our busy, often fragmented lives. We live in a world that encourages us to look ahead, to plan for the future, to achieve more, and to move quickly. Time feels like an enemy, something we are always running out of. But Zen asks us to shift our perspective, to recognize that time is not a force that controls us, but a canvas in which we live. The present moment, no matter how small or mundane, holds the key to awakening. This insight is not simply a mental exercise or a philosophical concept, it is something we can practice in every moment of our lives. For instance, I remember the first time I became truly aware of this concept. It happened while I was cleaning my apartment. I had always been in a rush to finish the task, thinking of cleaning as something to get through rather than something to engage with. But one day, I decided to try an experiment. I slowed down and focused all my attention on the act of cleaning itself. I paid attention to the sensation of the broom in my hand, the sound it made as it swept across the floor, the movement of my body as I bent down to pick up dust. Suddenly, the task I had always seen as tedious became an act of meditation. I was fully present in that moment, and it felt as though time itself was expanding. I realized that the present moment, which had always felt like something I was trying to escape, was actually the most valuable space I had. That experience, though small, was a profound revelation of what Zen teaches. The present moment is the only true reality. Zen also introduces us to the idea that this here and now can never be understood by the logical mind alone. Zen transcends rational thought and logic. And this is where the practice of koans comes in. A koan is a paradoxical riddle or statement used in Zen to break down conventional thinking and push the practitioner into direct experience. These riddles do not have logical solutions. In fact, their purpose is to make the logical mind crumble. The point is not to solve the koan, but to experience the process of trying to understand it. Koans are designed to jolt the practitioner out of linear, rational thinking and into a more direct, intuitive way of understanding. One of the most famous koans is the question, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" On the surface, this seems like a simple question, but it is impossible to answer logically. If you think about it with your rational mind, you get stuck in a loop. The whole point of this koan is that it doesn't have a logical answer. It is meant to push you beyond logic and into the present experience of the moment. The answer is not found in words or concepts, but in direct experience. For example, when meditating on a koan, instead of trying to understand it with your mind, you allow yourself to sit with the question, without needing to resolve it. Over time, this practice can help break down the habitual thought patterns that keep us trapped in a conceptual way of experiencing the world. By surrendering the need to know, we open ourselves to a deeper, more profound understanding. The goal is not to find an answer, but to let go of our attachment to answers altogether and to experience life directly. In addition to the emphasis on the present moment and the use of koans, Zen also places a great deal of importance on simplicity, the idea that everything we need is already here, right now, in the simplicity of being, is a core tenet of Zen. This simplicity is not just about stripping away the unnecessary, but about recognizing the inherent beauty and profundity in the most basic, everyday actions. Zen teaches that there is no need to seek something more, as everything is contained in the present moment. This idea of simplicity can be difficult to grasp in a world that often values complexity, achievement, and accumulation. We are constantly told that we need more possessions, more experiences, more knowledge. But Zen challenges this notion. In Zen, the ordinary is sacred. The act of sitting down, breathing, eating, walking, each of these can be a profound expression of Zen when done with full awareness. The idea is that we don't need to search for enlightenment elsewhere. It is already present in every moment, in every action. I remember one day when I was walking through the park, and I decided to practice this mindfulness. Instead of rushing through the walk or thinking about other things, I focused solely on the act of walking. I felt my feet touching the ground with each step, the breeze on my face, the sounds of the birds in the trees. There was nothing to do, nothing to achieve, only the experience of walking, fully and completely. In that moment, I understood what Zen meant by simplicity. It wasn't about the walk itself being extraordinary, but about being fully present in it, without distraction, without trying to get anywhere. It was in that simplicity that I found peace. Zen teaches that our lives are already filled with enough. We do not need to seek outside ourselves for happiness, fulfillment, or truth. Everything we need is here, right now, in the simplicity of being. This understanding can be liberating. We are often told that happiness is something we need to work towards or achieve. But Zen shows us that happiness, like enlightenment, is found in the present moment, not in future achievements or possessions. Zen also invites us to let go of the need to control our experiences. In Zen, there is no goal in meditation. The goal is simply to be present, without attachment, without expectation. This idea runs counter to much of modern life, which often teaches us that everything should have a purpose or an end goal. Zen flips this notion on its head, suggesting that the very act of letting go of the goal is where the true power lies, whether in meditation or in life. It is the willingness to be fully present, without striving, that opens the door to awakening. Reflecting on my own experience with time and Zen, I realized that the practice has helped me shift my relationship with the clock. I no longer feel like time is a race to be won. Instead, I see it as a river I am flowing through, and each moment is a drop of water I can fully experience. When I clean, cook, or work, I try to bring the same awareness to those actions. I don't rush through them anymore, trying to get to the next thing. I try to savor each moment, to be present with the task at hand. This shift has made my life feel fuller, richer, and more meaningful. Zen's philosophy, its emphasis on the present moment, its rejection of rational thought in favor of direct experience, and its celebration of simplicity has changed the way I live. It has helped me to understand that the present is all we truly have, and that each moment is sacred. The koans challenge my mind to let go of logical answers and to embrace the mystery of existence. The practice of mindfulness teaches me to appreciate the simplicity of being. Through Zen, I've come to understand that enlightenment is not something to be pursued, it is something to be lived. Right here, right now. The practice of Zazen is perhaps the most fundamental and central aspect of Zen Buddhism. Zazen, or seated meditation, serves not just as a technique but as a philosophy of life. It is an approach to existence that encourages us to be fully present, not by striving for a specific mental state or a particular result, but by engaging deeply with the current moment, letting go of distractions, and simply being. The goal is not to clear the mind of thoughts, but to learn to observe them without attachment, creating a state of awareness that is free from judgment and expectation. Zazen can be understood as a means to tap into a deeper connection with reality. It is not about transcending the world or escaping from it, but about immersing oneself in the reality of the moment. In Western culture, we often view meditation as a means of achieving inner peace or mental clarity. And while these outcomes may indeed arise from the practice of Zazen, the purpose is not to seek them directly. Instead, Zazen is a way to cultivate an awareness of the present moment as it is, without any preconceived notions or attempts to control it. The process of Zazen is deceptively simple in appearance. It involves sitting upright in a specific posture, focusing on the breath, and observing the flow of thoughts that arise. However, the simplicity of Zazen masks the depth of its practice. The first thing that one notices when beginning Zazen is the challenge of the posture. The traditional posture involves sitting cross-legged with the back straight, hands resting in a specific mudra gesture, and eyes half closed. This posture is not just about physical alignment. It is a reflection of the mental discipline required to maintain focus and awareness. In Zen, the body and the mind are not separate. They are intertwined, and the posture serves as a gateway to mental stillness. In the practice of Zazen, the breath plays a central role. Breathing is a natural and rhythmic process, something we do every moment of our lives without thinking about it. Yet in Zazen, attention is paid to each inhale and exhale, bringing full awareness to the breath as it flows in and out of the body. This focus on the breath helps to anchor the mind in the present moment, preventing it from wandering into distractions. The breath becomes a bridge between the body and the mind, a point of contact with the present. The rhythm of the breath provides a sense of stability, grounding the practitioner in the reality of now. Over time, practitioners begin to notice how thoughts come and go in the mind. At first, the mind seems to be filled with constant chatter, a flood of thoughts that we cannot control. These thoughts are often perceived as obstacles in meditation, leading us to believe that we are doing something wrong. However, in the Zen approach, thoughts are not seen as enemies to be eradicated. They are simply observed without judgment, allowed to rise and fall like clouds in the sky. The practice of Zazen is not about forcing thoughts to disappear, but about observing them without attachment. Thoughts are seen as fleeting and impermanent, and the more we let them come and go without trying to hold on to them, the less power they have over us. This insight into the nature of thoughts is one of the transformative aspects of Zazen. We begin to realize that we are not our thoughts. The thoughts that arise in our minds are not who we are. They are just passing phenomena. By observing them without attachment, we begin to dissolve the sense of separation between ourselves and our thoughts. We stop identifying with them, and in doing so, we stop being controlled by them. This dissolution of the boundary between subject, the observer, and object, the thought, is one of the most profound aspects of Zen practice. For many of us, the idea that we are not our thoughts is a radical one. We are often taught to believe that our thoughts define us, that our identity is shaped by the things we think and the opinions we hold. In Zen, however, there is a shift in perspective. The mind is not something to be controlled or conquered, but something to be observed and understood. In Zazen, we learn to be the witness, the observer, rather than the thinker. This shift in perspective can be deeply liberating. It is an invitation to step out of the cycle of constant mental activity and simply experience life as it is, without the interference of judgment or expectation. The practice of Zazen is not just about mental stillness. However, it is also about cultivating a deep connection to reality itself. As we sit in Zazen, we begin to feel the interconnectedness of all things. The stillness of the mind allows us to tune into the subtle rhythms of the world around us. The sound of the wind, the feel of the ground beneath us, the movement of our breath, all of these become vivid and alive when we are present to them. The more we practice Zazen, the more we begin to sense that the entire universe is contained within each moment. We are not separate from the world. We are part of it. This realization can be both humbling and awe-inspiring. The experience of connectedness in Zazen is not just theoretical. It is something that can be felt and directly experienced. In this way, Zazen becomes a gateway to a deeper understanding of existence. As we let go of the constant need for distraction and mental noise, we create space for a more intimate relationship with the world. Zazen teaches us to be present in each moment, to fully inhabit our lives without distraction, and to embrace the beauty and simplicity of existence as it is. When I first tried Zazen, I approached it with the expectation that I would be able to clear my mind completely. I thought that the purpose of meditation was to achieve a mental state of emptiness, a state of pure peace. However, as I sat there, I realized that my mind was filled with thoughts about the past, the future, and everything in between. I was frustrated, thinking that I was failing at meditation. But what I eventually learned was that Zazen isn't about emptying the mind at all. It's about letting the thoughts be. It's about observing them without getting caught up in them, without attaching any judgment to them. Over time, I began to experience a shift. The thoughts didn't disappear, but they became less important. They came and went like clouds in the sky, and I simply watched them pass by. I didn't try to hold on to them, nor did I push them away. I just let them be. And in that space of non-attachment, I began to experience a deeper connection to the world around me. I could feel the subtle sensations of my body, the sound of my breath, the stillness of the room. It was as if, in that quiet space, the entire universe was present with me. This experience of connectedness is one of the great gifts of Zazen. The more I practiced, the more I could sense the interconnection of all things. It wasn't something that I had to think about or figure out. It was simply there, in the silence, in the stillness. Zazen allowed me to let go of the constant mental chatter that usually fills my mind and to experience life in a more direct, unmediated way. I began to feel that I was not separate from the world around me, but part of it. Zazen also teaches us to let go of the need for achievement. In our culture, we are often told that success is something to be worked for, something to be attained. But in Zazen, there is no goal except the practice itself. The purpose of Zazen is not to achieve a specific mental state or to reach a particular level of enlightenment. The goal is simply to be present, to sit, to observe, and to experience. This can be a difficult lesson in a world that values productivity and results, but it is an essential part of the practice. Zazen teaches us that the act of being present, of sitting in stillness, is enough. There is nothing to prove, no destination to reach. The practice itself is the reward. As I reflect on my own experience with Zazen, I can see how it has transformed my relationship with both my mind and the world. Through Zazen, I have learned to observe my thoughts without being controlled by them. I have learned to embrace the present moment, to be fully present with whatever is happening right now. And perhaps most importantly, I have learned to experience a deep sense of connection to the world around me. Zazen has shown me that the practice of meditation is not about achieving something external, but about coming home to the present moment, to the reality of our lives as they are. In this way, Zazen becomes more than just a meditation practice. It becomes a way of life, a way of being. It teaches us to be present, to let go of attachments, and to embrace the world as it is. It dissolves the barriers between subject and object, between the self and the world. Through Zazen, we learn to be fully alive in the moment, to experience life in its most direct and unfiltered form. And in doing so, we come to understand that the true nature of reality is not something to be understood intellectually, but something to be experienced in the depths of our own being. Zen Buddhism teaches us that every action, no matter how simple or mundane, can be a form of spiritual practice. The essence of Zen is not found in abstract concepts or lofty ideals, but in the direct experience of the present moment. This perspective transforms even the most ordinary aspects of life into opportunities for mindfulness. Whether you are preparing a cup of tea, washing dishes, or sweeping the floor, Zen encourages you to bring full awareness to what you are doing. The famous Zen master, Tizhan, once said, "When washing dishes, just wash dishes." This statement encapsulates the core of Zen philosophy. The importance is not in the task itself, but in the awareness you bring to it. At first glance, this may seem trivial or even absurd. How can an everyday chore, like washing dishes or cleaning the house, be a form of spiritual practice? We are often taught in the modern world to focus on efficiency and speed, to rush through tasks in order to get to the next thing. We multitask, juggle responsibilities, and constantly try to optimize our time. The idea of being fully present for a seemingly trivial activity might feel like a waste of time. However, Zen asks us to reconsider this attitude. Zen invites us to slow down and engage with the moment, to immerse ourselves in the act itself, without any concern for the outcome or any distractions from the task at hand. One of the fundamental teachings of Zen is that enlightenment is not something that exists in the future. It is not a distant goal that we can attain only after years of study or spiritual practice. Rather, enlightenment is found in the here and now, in the present moment. Every action, no matter how small, carries the potential for awakening if we approach it with mindfulness. This idea of bringing awareness into our everyday lives is a powerful tool for spiritual growth. When we approach life with the same attentiveness as we would in a formal meditation practice, we begin to experience a deeper connection to ourselves and the world around us. In Zen, the task at hand is never just about the task. The true focus is the process, not the result. For example, when washing dishes, the goal is not to finish the task as quickly as possible, but to be fully present with each movement. The sensation of the warm water on your hands, the sound of the dishes clinking together, the rhythmic motion of scrubbing, these are the elements that Zen encourages us to notice and appreciate. By engaging with these details, we are practicing mindfulness, training our minds to be focused and present in whatever we are doing. This practice extends beyond the formal sitting of meditation and can be woven into the fabric of our daily lives. Zen emphasizes the importance of non-duality, the idea that there is no separation between the practitioner and the practice. In other words, the act of washing dishes is not separate from you. It is an extension of you. In this way, Zen shifts our perspective on the relationship between ourselves and the tasks we perform. When we are fully present with what we are doing, we are not doing something but being in that moment. The Zen practice is about dissolving the distinction between subject, the doer, and object, the task. When we wash dishes with full attention, we are not simply completing a task. We are embodying mindfulness, bringing the principles of Zen into action. This philosophy extends beyond the household chores. Zen has had a profound impact on art and culture, influencing everything from architecture and design to poetry and tea ceremonies. Zen gardens, for example, are designed to evoke a sense of peace and simplicity. The art of arranging rocks, sand, and plants is done with meticulous care. But the process itself is just as important as the final result. The practice of creating a Zen garden is about being fully present in each movement, carefully considering each placement, and allowing the mind to become quiet and still. The act of designing the garden becomes a form of meditation, where the practitioner connects with the natural world in a deeply personal way. Similarly, the Japanese tea ceremony is another expression of Zen in everyday life. It is not merely about drinking tea. It is about the entire process: preparing the tea, serving it, and drinking it in the most mindful way possible. Each gesture is performed with grace and attention, and the focus is on being present with the act itself. Every movement is deliberate. Every action is intentional, and every detail is considered. The tea ceremony, like all Zen practices, is a way to bring awareness to the present moment and to experience life in its simplest form. Through these examples, we can see how Zen teaches us to embrace simplicity and mindfulness in all aspects of life. It is not necessary to retreat to a monastery or live a life of austerity to practice Zen. Zen practice can be integrated into our daily lives, whether we are at work, at home, or out in the world. The point is not to escape from life, but to engage with it more fully, to be aware of every moment, and to experience the world as it truly is, without distractions or attachments. When I first encountered the idea of Zen in everyday life, I was skeptical. Like many people, I had a tendency to compartmentalize my life. I thought of my meditation practice as something separate from my real life. I would sit on my cushion, meditate, and try to cultivate mindfulness. But once I got up and went about my day, I would quickly fall back into the hustle and bustle of everyday existence. I would rush through tasks, distracted by my thoughts and worries, not fully present with what I was doing. It seemed impossible to practice mindfulness while doing something as mundane as washing dishes or walking down the street. However, over time, I began to understand that Zen is not something that happens only on the cushion. It is a way of being in the world. Every action, no matter how small, offers an opportunity to practice mindfulness. For example, when I wash dishes now, I try to focus on the sensation of the water, the texture of the soap, the rhythm of my movements. I let go of my thoughts and simply experience the act of washing dishes. In that moment, I'm not thinking about what's next on my to-do list or about anything that happened earlier in the day. I am just present with the task at hand. This shift in perspective has made a significant difference in how I live my life. I find that I am more aware of my surroundings, more engaged in conversations, and more connected to the present moment. Whether I am walking, talking, eating, or working, I try to bring the same mindfulness to each action. I am learning to embrace the simplicity of being, to find the sacred in the everyday. Zen has taught me that true practice doesn't happen in some far-off place or in some future moment. It happens right here, right now, in the actions of our daily lives. In a world that often encourages us to rush through life, to constantly be on the move, and to strive for more, Zen offers a refreshing alternative. It reminds us that we don't have to wait for some future time to experience peace, presence, and connection. These qualities are available to us in every moment, in every action, no matter how small. Zen invites us to slow down, to appreciate the simple things, and to engage fully with the present moment. Through this practice, we can transform our everyday lives into a form of meditation, a path to greater awareness, compassion, and wisdom. And in doing so, we come to understand that the essence of Zen is not in what we do, but in how we do it in the awareness, mindfulness, and presence we bring to each moment. Zen Buddhism offers a radical shift in how we view enlightenment. Unlike many other spiritual traditions that position enlightenment as a distant, elusive goal, something to be achieved after years of study, practice, or divine intervention, Zen presents it as a present, inherent aspect of our everyday experience. In Zen, enlightenment is not a far-off state that must be grasped or acquired. It is not something that we need to chase, nor is it something that we can hold on to tightly once we believe we've found it. Instead, enlightenment is found in the simplicity of the present moment, in the direct experience of life itself. Zen Master Dogen's famous teaching, "To study the way is to study the self, and to study the self is to forget the self," captures the paradox at the heart of Zen practice. At first, this statement can seem counterintuitive. After all, aren't we supposed to understand ourselves and our nature to become enlightened? In a conventional sense, yes. However, Zen proposes that the process of self-study should ultimately lead to self-forgetting, not because we abandon ourselves, but because the ego, or the sense of a separate, self-centered identity, becomes less relevant. When we stop fixating on our personal narratives, desires, and fears, we can experience life in a way that is unfiltered, untainted by the ego's constant interference. The idea of forgetting the self points to the Zen concept of selflessness. In Zen, the ego is seen as an obstacle to experiencing reality as it truly is. The ego, as we usually understand it, is not a real, fixed entity but a collection of thoughts, memories, and beliefs that shape our perception of the world. It is this self-centered view of reality that keeps us trapped in suffering, misunderstanding, and conflict. When we dissolve the ego, even momentarily, we begin to see things as they are, without the distortion of our desires, judgments, or fears. This state of no self is not one of nihilism or emptiness, but a state of pure presence, where life is experienced directly, without the filters of preconceived ideas or personal bias. Enlightenment, in Zen, is not something to be attained or earned. It is something that is already within us, waiting to be recognized. As Zen Master Shunryu Suzuki says, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few. This concept of the beginner's mind is essential to understanding Zen's approach to enlightenment. A beginner's mind is one that is open, curious, and free of preconceived notions or expectations. It is a mind that is receptive to the present moment and all of its possibilities. The expert, on the other hand, is often trapped by their accumulated knowledge and experience. They think they know the answers. They have a fixed idea of how things should be, and they approach life with a sense of limitation and certainty. In Zen, the goal is not to become an expert, but to return to the freshness and openness of the beginner's mind. This is not about disregarding knowledge or experience, but about letting go of the rigid, fixed views that prevent us from fully engaging with life as it is. It's about approaching each moment with an attitude of humility, curiosity, and receptivity. When we let go of the need to control or define things, we open ourselves to the full richness of the experience of life. We start to see the beauty in the ordinary, the profound in the mundane. Zen teaches that enlightenment does not require special knowledge or extraordinary abilities. It does not require us to become someone else, someone better, or more advanced. Rather, it asks us to fully inhabit who we are in the present moment. Enlightenment is not a destination. It is a way of being. It is the act of being fully present, of experiencing each moment as it arises, without clinging to it or rejecting it. In this sense, Zen invites us to embrace life as it is, without the constant need to strive or achieve, without the inner noise of shoulds and should-nots. This approach to enlightenment has had a profound impact on how I live my life. I have come to realize that the path to true freedom and clarity is not through striving for some future ideal, but by simply being here, now, without the weight of ego or expectation. It's about recognizing that life is already perfect as it is, in its raw, unfiltered state. We don't need to change or fix anything to experience the fullness of life. Instead, we need to let go of the illusion that something is missing or that we need to get somewhere. Reflecting on my personal journey with Zen, I recognize that every moment, every interaction, and every task offers an opportunity to practice mindfulness and self-awareness. At first, it seemed that the practice of Zen, whether through sitting in meditation or simply paying attention to my actions, was something that required a lot of effort and concentration. But over time, I have realized that the true essence of Zen is not in forcing ourselves to be mindful, but in gently allowing ourselves to be present. It's not about striving to achieve a certain mental state or outcome, but about simply being in the moment, letting go of the need to control or judge. In my experience, this shift from striving for something outside of myself to simply being present in the moment has been transformative. I no longer feel that I need to get somewhere or accomplish something in order to be fulfilled. The act of being present, of simply experiencing life as it is, has become enough. And this realization has opened up new possibilities for how I engage with the world. I no longer approach life with the same sense of urgency or impatience that I once did. Instead, I try to embrace the simplicity of each moment, letting go of the need to rush or accumulate. Zen also teaches us that we don't need to search for enlightenment as if it were a treasure hidden somewhere in the world. It is not something that exists outside of us. Enlightenment is not a goal that can be reached or a state that can be possessed. Rather, it is a recognition of our true nature, an awakening to the fact that everything we need is already present within us. When we let go of the ego and our attachment to outcomes, we begin to experience life more deeply, more fully, and with greater clarity. This realization is not something that can be forced or achieved through effort. It is something that emerges naturally when we stop fighting against the present moment and simply allow ourselves to be. In this way, Zen teaches us to surrender, not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of letting go of the need to control or manipulate reality. We learn to flow with life, to move with its rhythms, to experience it without resistance. Ultimately, Zen invites us to experience life directly, without the interference of the ego. It challenges us to let go of the notion that enlightenment is something distant or separate from us. Enlightenment is not an achievement but a recognition of what is already present. It is found in the present moment, in the act of being fully alive and awake. Zen does not ask us to become someone else or to reach some distant ideal. It asks us to be who we truly are, here and now. And in doing so, we discover that the path to enlightenment is not through seeking or achieving, but through living fully in the present moment, without attachment, without resistance, and with full awareness. The essence of Zen lies in the simplicity of being, in the direct experience of the present moment, free from the distractions of our often chaotic thoughts, in a world that constantly pushes us to achieve more, be more, and do more. Zen offers a refreshing alternative, a practice that is less about doing and more about being. It's easy to get caught up in the fast pace of modern life, to feel as though we're always racing towards something, whether it's a promotion at work, a perfect relationship, or a sense of inner peace. But Zen tells us that these things are not where true peace lies. The real treasure is already present, within us, in the simplicity of our day-to-day lives. Zen invites us to shift our perspective, to move from the constant striving for future achievements to the quiet appreciation of the present moment. In Zen practice, we learn to let go of the need to control everything around us and instead open ourselves up to the present. This means being fully aware of what's happening in our immediate surroundings, without distraction, without judgment. When we wash dishes, for instance, we aren't rushing through the task with the hope of finishing it quickly so we can move on to something else. We're simply washing dishes, completely immersed in the task at hand, feeling the warm water, the texture of the dish, the gentle sound of the soap as it scrubs away. In that simple act, we are practicing mindfulness, present, engaged, and aware. This principle of Zen can be applied to every aspect of our lives. It's not just about sitting on a cushion for hours in quiet contemplation. It's about bringing that mindfulness into everything we do. When we're walking, we can focus on the sensation of our feet touching the ground, the rhythm of our breathing, the world around us. When we're talking to someone, we can fully listen to them, without letting our minds wander to the next thing we need to do or say. By practicing mindfulness in our daily activities, we begin to experience life as it truly is, without the filters of our biases, judgments, or expectations. We allow ourselves to be fully present in each moment, recognizing that each moment is sacred. Zen also teaches us the importance of accepting things as they are, without the need for them to be different or better. This is where the concept of no self comes in. The ego, the sense of a separate self, is often the root of our suffering. We believe that we are separate from others, that our desires and fears define us, that our identity is something fixed and unchanging. But Zen teaches us that the ego is an illusion, a temporary construct. When we let go of the ego, we experience life without the distortion of our personal narrative. We begin to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be or as we fear it might be. This shift in perspective is at the heart of Zen practice. But letting go of the ego isn't an easy task. It requires a great deal of patience and self-awareness. The ego constantly tries to assert itself, constantly trying to control, judge, and label every experience we encounter. Zen offers us a way to step back from this constant inner chatter, to observe our thoughts without becoming attached to them. One of the most powerful tools for this is Zazen, the seated meditation that forms the core of Zen practice. Through Zazen, we learn to sit still, to breathe deeply, and to simply observe whatever thoughts, feelings, or sensations arise. Instead of trying to control or eliminate them, we let them come and go like clouds in the sky. allowing them to pass without clinging to them. Over time, this practice helps us to detach from our thoughts, to see them as temporary and fleeting rather than permanent aspects of our identity. Through Zazen, we also begin to experience the interconnectedness of all things. Zen teaches that there is no separation between self and other, between subject and object. When we meditate, we are not separate from our surroundings, nor are we separate from our thoughts or emotions. Everything is interconnected, part of the same flowing stream of life. This realization is not just a philosophical concept, but something that is directly experienced through the practice of meditation. When we sit still and observe the flow of our thoughts, we begin to see that our thoughts are not separate from the world around us. We begin to understand that we are part of a larger whole. And in this realization, we experience a deep sense of peace and unity. As we continue to practice Zen, we begin to see how it permeates all areas of our life. The teachings of Zen are not just something we study in a book or hear about in a lecture. They are something we live. They are something that we integrate into every action, every interaction, and every moment. Zen is not confined to the cushion or the monastery. It is alive in the world, in the everyday things that we do. From the way we greet someone in the morning to the way we prepare our food, every action becomes an opportunity to practice mindfulness. We learn to be fully present, not just in the moments of meditation, but in the moments of daily life, where true practice happens. At first, the idea of bringing Zen into daily life may seem trivial. How could something as simple as washing dishes or folding laundry be considered a spiritual practice? But this is exactly what Zen teaches us, that the most ordinary actions can be sacred when we bring full awareness to them. When we approach each task with the intention of being present, we begin to see the world differently. We begin to notice the small details, the sound of the water running, the feel of the fabric in our hands, the way the sunlight filters through the window. In these small moments, we can experience the fullness of life, not as something we need to rush through, but as something we can savor and appreciate. Zen also teaches us that enlightenment is not something we can achieve through external means. It is not about accumulating knowledge or performing rituals. It is about coming to a deep understanding of the self and the nature of reality. As Zen Master Dogen said, to study the way is to study the self, and to study the self is to forget the self. This paradoxical statement highlights the essence of Zen practice, that in order to truly understand ourselves, we must let go of our attachment to the self. We must release the need to control, to judge, and to define who we are. Only then can we experience the world as it truly is, without the distortion of the ego. The practice of Zen offers a pathway to self-realization, but it is not something that can be achieved through intellectual understanding or external accomplishments. It is something that must be experienced directly, through the practice of mindfulness and meditation. Zen reminds us that enlightenment is not a distant goal, but something that is already within us. It is present in every moment, in every breath, in every action. As we deepen our practice, we begin to see that the journey of Zen is not about becoming someone else or achieving some lofty ideal. It is about waking up to the present moment, about experiencing life fully and directly, without the distractions of the ego or the demands of the world. It is about recognizing that true peace and happiness come not from achieving external goals, but from being fully present in the here and now. So, if you are ready to take the next step on your own journey of self-discovery, I encourage you to bring the teachings of Zen into your own life. Start by bringing awareness to the simplest of tasks. When you're washing dishes, don't rush through it. Focus on the sensation of the water, the movement of your hands, the sound of the dishes clinking together. When you're walking, pay attention to each step, to the rhythm of your breath, to the world around you. Through these small acts, you can begin to cultivate mindfulness, to bring the teachings of Zen into your everyday life. And remember, the path to enlightenment does not lie in some distant future. It is available to you right here, right now, in this moment. There is no need to wait, no need to strive. Simply be present, and you will find that the path to true peace and clarity is already unfolding before you. As we reach the end of this journey into Zen, I hope you found something that resonates with you. something that encourages you to step into the present moment with more mindfulness and awareness. The beauty of Zen is that it doesn't require you to change anything about yourself, except for how you see the world. It's not about achieving some far-off goal of enlightenment, it's about being present, right here and right now, and understanding that the path to true peace begins in the simple moments of life. Whether you're washing dishes, sitting in meditation, or talking to a loved one, every action is an opportunity to practice mindfulness. Zen challenges us to let go of our ego, to stop chasing after things outside ourselves, and instead to turn inward, to realize that everything we need is already within us. It teaches us that life itself is the greatest teacher, and that enlightenment isn't something distant, something abstract, but something that can be experienced in every single moment of being. And the more we practice it, the clearer and more peaceful our lives become. I want you to remember this: the path to peace, to clarity, to enlightenment, it's available to you right now. All it takes is a willingness to be present and aware. So take a moment today to truly step into the experience of life, and let Zen guide you toward a deeper sense of connection and tranquility. If you found value in today's video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with someone who could benefit from these teachings, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Zen is a journey that continues for a lifetime, and I'll be right here with you, sharing more insights and practices that can transform the way you live. Thank you for being part of this community, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take a deep breath, be present, and let the world unfold as it is. Peace is already here.